speaking of sport, though, we watched a couple of
Mm,
documentaries
some
this
of the
week.
best we've watched, let me tell you. There's one I'm very excited to talk about.
Okay, so I don't know which one it's gonna be, but we watched two motorsport documentaries, one on Netflix, one on Stan. For me, they were like eerily similar. So we got
Eerily
Schumacher
similar.
on Netflix, and then we got Senna on Stan. Which one was your
I watched
preferred?
Senna on Apple.
Okay, yep,
Um, the Senna documentary blew me away.
yep.
It was incredible. Oh my god, it was amazing. It made the Schumacher documentary, which in its own right was incredible, look pedestrian.
Yeah,
But yeah, eerily similar.
I liked the Schumacher
The
one,
Senna one
but
just had a lot more substance. I think the Schumacher one had a lot missing. There was a lot of conversational topics and pieces and elephants in the room that weren't mentioned, and they brushed over a lot of things.
yep,
Like you can tell his like estate really ran their eye over it and picked out what they wanted.
yeah, definitely.
Um, it was incredible though, the Schumacher one.
Yeah, like I really enjoyed both, but yeah, like you said, I think the Senna one was better overall. I think the Schumacher one would have been up on that level if at the very end Schumacher had made his first like public appearance since the skiing accident. But
That's what I was
obvious
thinking. I was
obviously he didn't, so that makes me think he's in a lot worse state than they're letting on.
well. The family interviews at the end they had with his son and daughter and partner, they pretty much told us everything we sort of already knew, that he is alive.
Yep,
He he's at home. He's in a wheelchair, but he's completely non-responsive, basically.
yep.
I think that's what we already knew. But yeah, I was honestly, and I thought, well, I hadn't seen online because the second it was released, there would have been articles and news pieces everywhere revealing what the like if he was alive, and it got revealed in the documentary. So I sort of knew like I'd already know about it by now if we were going to actually see footage of him.
Yep.
But yeah, nonetheless, it was pretty moving towards the end, for
Yeah, I think
sure.
when they started interviewing what's his daughter's name?
Yeah,
Where are
so
they?
Gabrielle something.
Yeah, I thought I had it written down, but I didn't. Oh yeah, Gina Maria and Mick, so his daughter and
Yeah,
son,
Mick.
and his wife Karina. But yeah, once they sort of started talking to Mick, that's when I was like, oh yeah, this is really sad that Mick's now making his like F1 debut and
Yeah, I know,
career, and
and
his dad can't be there to support him or be there along for the ride.
it's well, it sounds like yeah, they're communicating with him, and they've got like a completely different relationship and life with him now. Like they've got him at home. But I found too, it was a lot like The Last Dance, whereas you didn't have to be a fan of the sport. Obviously, I'm
Yep.
a big F1 fan, so I enjoyed it. But you don't like anyone could sit down and like really enjoy it. She's a household name, and it wasn't really um,
Yeah, it's not so
fun for the
much
nerds sort
focusing
of.
on the sport; it's about the
No,
man himself and the struggles he had coming up and the rivalries and stuff that he had along the way.
yeah, it was. So what the center one came out was like 2013. It's been out for a long time. Is that right?
2010.
10, really? It did not feel like that old.
Yeah.
Um, so obviously we watched the Schumacher one first. You
Yep.
did the same.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then yeah,
I'm just
when
trying to
they
think what if I was to recommend what order to watch them in. That was probably good because it just touched like the Schumacher one. It touched on the Senna Schumacher rivalry, which had a lot of shades of like James Hunt, Nicky Lauda, and even now Verstappen, Hamilton. But then, yeah, going back, and like a lot of the footage crossed over, especially because they mentioned Senna's crash in the Schumacher documentary,
yep.
and they really focus on the Senna crash at the end of the Senna documentary. And it was yeah eerie how all that sort of stuff crossed over. But yeah,
Yeah,
like how they
when they showed
they
Senna's
really
crash in the Schumacher one, that's what made me go, Oh wait, there's a Senna documentary. I need to go and watch that now.
I
So
didn't
then I
even
went
know
and
it's
watched
out.
that.
I didn't know it existed, man. I'm so glad I watched it. But yeah, so they focus on the Senna and Schumacher rivalry in all sort of in the Schumacher documentary,
Yep.
and they sort of do the same with in the Senna documentary of Senna and uh, Prost, Alan
Yep.
Prost. And I was like, yeah, this is crazy, like how similar these two are.
Yeah, it was like the old guard getting taken over by the fresh new brash young guy, and
I'm a
everyone's
bit
like, "Well, hang on."
disappointed in the Senna one. How little Schumacher got a run in the Senna one. Sort of only towards the end, they barely mentioned him.
Yeah, because I think
Because I
that
think, well,
was
it was
Schumacher's
Schumacher's
first
first.
season, wasn't it?
It was his first season when Senna died.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, there was what a time Formula One racing was in the 80s and 90s.
It was a
Couldn't
scary sport back then. Like very
unbelievable.
limited safety requirements. Like
Yeah, it
nuts.
was
It
weird.
was the Senna crash
In
that
the
brought in all the safety things.
yeah, it's crazy too that crash. When they showed the other driver, I forgot his name, died on the Saturday.
Mm.
And I was like, I couldn't remember what track the Senna died at, and I was like, hang on a minute, they're not about to build this up and have Senna die the day after. That is unbelievable. Two drivers died the same. Like, how was the meeting even allowed to like continue? I don't understand. Like they go and race, like
Yeah.
clear the track. Someone's dead in hospital and they race.
Yeah, so it was at San Marino, and it was just a
Yeah,
horrible weekend for the sport as a whole because there
there's
was
a lot of big crashes. Did Rubens Barrichello have a big crash too? I think
yeah,
he didn't die
On
though.
Friday, Rubens
On
Barrichello had a
Friday,
massive crash,
yeah,
and that took him out of the race. Then Roland Ratzenberger, he died in the final
yeah, he's a
qualifying on
died
the
Saturday.
Saturday. And then on the Sunday, there was the crash on the starting grid where one of the drivers stalled on the start line and
Stalled, yeah.
got taken out from behind.
Doomed to start with.
And then 7 laps later, Senna crashes and dies basically
Crazy, crazy crash.
immediately.
But it was eerie too from the start of that documentary, knowing what happens to Senna going into it. Like from the start, when he first told his mum he wanted to go race F1, she like told him how dangerous it was and like pretty
Yep.
much said, "Don't die." Then the whole way through, they sort of show him in interviews and whatnot saying because he was big on like into God and like God was saving him and like he always mentioned he'll be right and like he won't die and it was just like every time he mentioned that you're like oh.
It's like,
And
tempting
he
fate.
was really big on the safety and trying to change safety and yeah that happened pretty wild.
Yeah, because like he had that incident the season before where he got run off the road, so he rejoined on
Yeah,
the other side of the chicane and got basically disqualified because of it, which cost him the championship. And he was like, "Hang on,
see that I
that's just
found
the
in
way you want me to do
in the
it is
Schumacher.
so unsafe. Like I shouldn't be turning
I
around and
love
going
the
back
rivalries,
towards the
man.
race."
Yeah, that's what I was saying. But I love the rivalries. Like in the Schumacher documentary, it made you hate Senna and they like painted Schumacher as a hero, and they made you hate Senna. Then you
Yep,
watch the Senna documentary, and you're loving Senna. He's this nice guy, and it makes you hate Alan Prost.
yep. And then yeah, like
It's just
in the Schumacher one, Senna does everything that Prost did to him. Basically, it was like, "What are you
yeah.
doing?"
I was like, this is uncanny.
Weird.
But it was a nice touch I found at the end of the Senna documentary. They showed footage of his funeral, and they got Prost up the front there carrying his casket.
Yep.
And they said what he's a funder or something of his
Yeah, patron of
Senna's
the
the
charity.
hospital.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's good.
but like that crash, like just insane. Like the documentary
For
basically
those
says like
speeds.
um it was like a true tragedy because if the materials that broke off the car, if they'd gone just an inch or two higher or lower, he'd have
Yeah, it was
survived. It was
the
just because they
steering
hit him in the
column.
face.
The steering column come through and hit him in the helmet, and they said he had no broken bones, no bruises, no cuts. It was just like trauma to the head.
Yep. And I was
And
looking
yes,
online, they were saying on the telemetry that they downloaded from the car afterwards, where he entered the corner at 309 kilometers an hour.
yeah,
and then
Something.
immediately starts braking as hard as he can and downshifting twice, but then still hits the concrete wall at 211 kilometers an hour.
It's nuts.
And yeah, it's like, and I read that they didn't declare him dead on the track, even though they probably should have, based on the injuries that were visible to his head.
When they interviewed the doctor, the Formula One doctor who was friends with Senna, he said when he was standing there over his body, he seen the moment that he died. He,
Yep.
like he could tell straight away. He's like, oh, he just like that's when he passed.
Yep. And yeah, like the reason they didn't declare him dead on the track is because if they had, then it immediately becomes a criminal investigation and everything has to stop and they have to turn it into a crime
I noticed
scene.
they do that a lot with stuff like that. That was the same with, well, the driver that crashed the day before, they did the same. Who was,
Yep.
I can't remember his name. He died in the IndyCar in Vegas.
Yep.
Wasn't too long ago.
I don't know the name, but I know the accident.
That was the same. Yeah. Crazy crash. Pretty sure Vegas IndyCar's on this weekend. Crazy crash. But yeah, he was like clearly died and like from his injuries from the impact at the track. But yeah, they didn't declare him dead until at the hospital. So yeah, I never really thought of it that way because of like it becomes essentially a crime scene, I guess.
Yeah, so immediately has to stop and be turned into a crime scene to be investigated properly. But because
whereas that IndyCar crash at Vegas, they like stopped everything. Then once the word got back that he had died, they didn't continue the race. But all the drivers decided to do like a big formation, like Victor Act, and get back out there, like in honor.
Yeah, just like an.
But I don't think that would happen. If I don't like, not that it can happen, obviously. But if someone were to die in like motor racing today, they wouldn't be like continuing the meeting. So to speak.
Yeah,
they wouldn't be racing again. I think.
I think these days
most drivers are pretty precious these days anyway, and like out of respect, they wouldn't do it.
Like even a couple of years ago with the crash that's on the F1 show. I can't remember who it was. The Man in the Fire episode. Like everyone just sort of stops. No, the modern one. It was like 2 years ago.
Roman Grosjean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grosjean. So like, everyone just kind of stopped and were like, we're not racing again until we know that he's okay.
Exactly. It just won't happen today.
But yeah, like,
I completely forgot about Grosjean's crash.
Yeah,
at least a couple of years ago.
At least that sort of proves that there has been.
Oh, that was luck. See, that was luck. Whereas Senna, 6 inches higher or 6 inches lower, that steering column, and he survives.
Yep.
Whereas with Grosjean, inches higher, inches lower, he's dead.
Gone. Yep. And then he's just sitting in fire.
Yeah, buy your lottery tickets, I guess.
Yeah, like I guess that shows that there has been some very significant sort of improvements to the safety in the F1, but still,
I don't know if you
still
caught
a very scary sport.
Last race in the F1, where Verstappen rode up onto Hamilton's car, and there's an image going around of Verstappen's wheel on top of Hamilton's head, like on the halo of the car.
Ugh.
And
yeah, that's scary.
They're saying if that new halo rim around the cab wasn't there, it was Gornsky.
Yeah, true, because it would have just been his head that took the impact, not the actual car.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's scary.
Dangerous sport.
Yep. But yeah, back then it was even worse. Like just nuts.
They've come a long way. F1 seemed to come a long way in like mid 90s to early 2000s. All of a sudden went from that traditional like 70s, 80s, that old school car to all of a sudden it was just boom, the modern day car that we know.
Yeah, now they're like
big shifts. I think they touched on it. Was it Team Williams when they first started doing the computerized suspension systems, which it gets touched on in the Senna documentary, I believe.
Yeah,
now that's the normal thing, but back then they were getting disqualified for it.
Yeah, they had those like adjustable suspension and ABS and stuff, and they had it for a season, and then they were deemed illegal, and now it's just normal.
Now it's
Now you have like the curves and all the crazy stuff. Now they're flying or upside down jet engines, basically.
They're incredible machines, man. They're so low to the ground too. Like the driver's seat is pretty much sitting on the ground. There's not
Yeah,
much between that and the tarmac. They're precious little things too.
yeah, and like I guess
Great
the
sport.
yeah now you see like the actual cockpit is like super tough and solid. Like if they crash now, that just everything explodes off the car, and then you just get this
Yeah.
solid shell.
Oh yeah. There's not nothing left of it. This leads me to I was going to ask. Like, we've got Schumacher there. Obviously, Jordan, The Last Dance. The list goes on. Who would you want to see a sports documentary like high production made, past or present, athlete or team?
Ooh, that's tough. It's surely a Brady one
Yeah,
is coming at some point.
yeah, Brady would be good.
12 years, still
There's so
dominating.
many you could name. Well, he's got 10 years left. Apparently, he reckons he's going to play when he's 50.
Yeah, okay. You'll die. You'll
Hey,
get hit and die.
speaking of Brady, I seen something just this afternoon. He's going to play this weekend his first ever game in LA.
Yep.
Apparently, he's played in 32 different cities, but he has never ever played in LA. That is incredible.
Yeah, I think because he's in the opposite conference, and it's like the
Yeah,
few times that they
it
do
never
play
happened.
against
Yeah,
each
and
other,
LA haven't
it's always been
always had a team.
that's true. And then like the times that he has played
Yeah.
these teams, they've come to
Just insane
Boston,
stat.
New
But yeah, I
England.
know we still need. I think we still deserve a proper Kobe documentary because I know cameras followed him around in his final season, so I think that's still coming.
Yep, Kobe be cool. Trying to think who else we could get. Probably like a Mike Tyson one, maybe. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, Tyson Busy.
Lots to go
I
into
think
there.
people have tried with Conor McGregor too. I guess some small production things, but you just need big money. I think we deserve in Australia more behind the scenes content of our sporting teams.
Yep.
It's such a market that's missed. Like we do get drip fed some stuff with some podcasts, and like the Tales of Tiger Town documentary that Fox Sports did, that was great. Like obviously, I loved it as a Tigers supporter, but I know friends that watched it and enjoyed it. Like it was good insight. So hopefully they do that again next year. Sort of like a Hard Knocks thing, but for
Yeah.
rugby league teams. It'd be brilliant.
Amazon had one with the AFL and stuff earlier this year as well.
Yeah, they did that, and they did the one for the Ashes.
Yeah, the Ashes one was
Australian
really
cricket
cool.
team, Amazon. Yeah. So it's such a everyone loves that sort of behind the scenes look at things. There needs to be more of it.
I'm trying to think what Australian athletes would be cool to do.
Paddy Mills.
Paddy Mills would be cool. The wheelchair Dylan Alcott, the wheelchair tennis player, that'd be a
Dylan
cool one.
Alcott, that'd be incredible. He's a bit of a jet setter. Maybe like someone like Sam Kerr as well.
Yeah, Sam Kerr, Sam Stosur. Like, there's plenty of Aussies that are doing great things at the moment.
You're curious. That'd be entertaining.
It'd be entertaining. Wouldn't be a lot of sport in that one though.
He's a big gamer, unless you if you consider gaming a sport.